As things heat up in the Middle East and American warplanes strike Iranian targets, the head of the US African Command, General Michael Langley, touched down in the landlocked Ethiopia, just days after touring the port of Berbera in Somaliland. Coincidence? Not likely. General Michael Langley, the outgoing head of US Africa Command, was in Addis Ababa last week. He met Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and Ethiopia's top military and security officials, reaffirming AFRICOM's support for African-led security and praising Ethiopia's regional role. But look closer. Langley had just toured Berbera and Somaliland. At the same time, new noise in Washington is building around recognizing Somaliland as a state. Meanwhile, the US bombed Iranian assets and an escalation of the conflicts raging in the Middle East. So what's the US really doing? What's at stake for Ethiopia, Somalia, and the Horn of Africa? Let's break it down. Let's start with why AFRICOM even matters. The US Africa Command, or AFRICOM, was created in 2008 to manage US military operations across the continent. Ironically, it's headquartered in Germany, the same country that hosted the 1884 Berlin Conference to divide Africa among colonial powers. AFRICOM's biggest presence in Africa is in Djibouti, just across from Yemen and at the mouth of Red Sea. That location is not random. The Red Sea is one of the world's most vital trade routes, carrying nearly 12% of the global trade. The US wants it open and stable. Now Ethiopia, a major US ally in fighting Al-Shabaab and ISIS in Somalia, has always played a key role in regional security, including efforts in South Sudan. But US strategy is shifting. Langley calls it burden sharing. The idea African partners take the lead. African partners take the lead. America backs them up. That's what Langley keeps repeating. Ethiopia is a key part of that equation. But Addis Ababa has its own ambitions, and it wants a naval presence in the Red Sea. And this ambition collided with the region last year when Ethiopia signed a deal with Somaliland, the declared independent region of Somalia. The deal exposed deep cracks between regional and international interests. Now, as Gaza burns, Houthi attacks rattle the Red Sea, and Iran and Israel drag others into confrontation. The Horn of Africa is no longer a backwater, it's a front line. Here's where things get interesting. Langley's trip to the region was not just symbolic. It sent clear message the US is paying attention. Somaliland has long lobbied for recognition, and the US Congress is starting to listen. A new bill pushes for recognizing Somaliland as a reliable partner in dangerous region. The irony, Ethiopia's push for sea access may have done more for Somaliland's international profile than Somaliland's own diplomacy. Suddenly, Ethiopia, the US, and Somaliland seem to share overlapping interests: security, containment of threats from Al-Shabaab and Iran-backed actors, and crucially access to ports, trade, and military infrastructure. For Washington, the timing matters. With the situation in Iran escalating and Houthi threats persisting, the US needs reliable staging points. Djibouti is overcrowded. Kenya's capacity is limited. Somalia is still fragmented, but Somaliland is politically stable. Berbera has a functioning port, and Ethiopia remains a serious regional actor. What we're seeing may be the early formation of new axes of cooperation driven by urgency. But make no mistake, Somalia and Eritrea are watching, and so is Egypt, a US ally and Ethiopia's longtime rival on Nile water politics. Cairo is already reinforcing its ties with Mogadishu. The stage is getting crowded. Langley's visit was not ceremonial, it was calculated. AFRICOM is being stretched thin. Budget talks in Washington suggested could be downgraded, merged under European command. That would stripe Africa of its own four-star voice in the Pentagon. Yet while AFRICOM may shrink, US operations in the Horn are intensifying. Washington is ramping up its response to Houthi attacks in the Red Sea and Al-Shabaab in Somalia. This is not a retreat, it's a realignment. And here's where Ethiopia fits in. Its ambitions in Somaliland offer a land-based partner to help counter Iran's asymmetric trade network, China's growing military presence, and Russia's new Red Sea push. In that context, US engagement with Ethiopia suddenly makes strategic sense. It's not just about counterterrorism anymore. It's about influence. It's about sea lanes. And it's about making sure the Horn does not fall into someone's hand. Langley's visit might be one of the last under AFRICOM's current structure, but it could mark the start of new US policy in the region. Transactional, tactical, and tied to whoever can deliver stability on demand. Here's the thing, this is not just about Ethiopia or Somaliland. It's about how power is shifting across Africa, the Red Sea, and the wider And as AFRICOM evolves, Ethiopia may be betting that ambition, backed up geography and timing, is enough to stay at the table. But in a region full of old rivalries and new alliances, every move is a gamble. Can Ethiopia lead without igniting chaos? Let's know in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this. This is Analytica Today. See you next time.